Agile is wonderful enough to capable to absorb it. It's innovative fundamentally in itself, right? Okay. So if Agile is innovative by itself, okay, and the other perspective we learned was the IT itself, right? Which obviously have more than sufficient amount of technologies involved, which obviously gain innovations every day. So today, let's say we are talking analytics. It's of course one innovation platform. Okay, data analysis, for example, data caring, uh, and then let's talk about, for example, analytics. Oh, we did that. Business intelligence, etc., etc. All of them are fundamentally IT is innovative by itself, provided that we use that tool, right? So IT is innovative, agile is innovative, right? And now we are looking at business process management as a definite innovation pointer. Okay. All right. So business process management, very important is also it helps to integrate with technology. So let's say today we are executing a particular process. Okay. We see that it's definitely manual. Now, many of you today who are sitting in this batch, okay, are also conversant with automations. Now, automation is inherently driven by technologies. Okay. So when you do business process optimization, you are essentially looking for those levers which you can make process integrate with technology. You want to marry the two. So the process which till now was, struggling because it was manually executed all along the way. It had no technology inputs. There was no technology to handhold the process, whether as a primary technology or as a secondary technology, right? Primary technology is something which drives the process. Secondary technology is something which helps the process to get executed better. Either way, if that is missing, you know what I mean. Business process effectiveness greatly gets enhanced because through BPM, you integrate that with technology. So as I speak, guys, and as you understand, and please understand that you need to be conversant with these terminologies. That business process management promotes integration with technology. You will say this like a high statement to somebody, and then you will go ahead to explain it also. This is some kind of a conversation skills which you should be now starting to develop, to be a more successful BA. Okay. All right, third pointer, BPM attempts to improve process continuously. I think we have understood that quite well. Fourth thing, both business analysis and business process management are aimed at optimizing performances, or essentially in short, are aimed at improving efficiency. Yeah. Okay, so that's fine. Let's see what more we have to learn here. Okay, now guys, unlike what we learned in Agile, IT, etc. yesterday, we're going to look at BPM in a very specific highlights. Okay, because I know this topic is a bit new to you, but it's thankfully, unfortunately, easy to understand. So I will just brief you through. Do not launch BPM projects based on perceived problem. BPM projects should be based on facts. If your client is categorically certain that some of the business processes today are definitely not efficient from a very statistically analyzed point of view, so guys, then you can definitely think of BPM, because it's very important to conduct extensive research into the basis of the proposed BPM project. So you are likely going to do that, and I'll tell you why. Even if the client triggers a BPM project, unless it's based on sound fundamentals that yes, guys, we are doing business process management projects not because we just feel that our efficiency is less. We have a categorical statistical analysis to prove that based on industry benchmarks, we as an organization take longer time to execute processes. Our customer service processes, that's why, are longer than competitors. Our turnaround times and so on in terms of responding to our customers is longer than our competitors, etc., etc. You should have already some facts. Only then this starts going, in that way. Okay, that's part one. Second, well, agree that client have issues, but the idea is to verify those issues before starting the project. So very simply, don't think only from a qualitative aspect. please think that there must be sufficient quantitative aspects as well, yeah, before you can start riding, the winds of a BPM project. Okay. Okay, third thing is, once you are clear that yes, there is a statistical analysis already done by my client, and that's why they are asking, kind of to bring that kind of thing forward. That's fine. In that case, guys, then make sure that you are the first one to figure out what exactly the business problem is. Okay, so that's goes in hand. Okay, and the other thing is the project being launched as a result of customer complaints, operational cost, or business pain points? Okay, so here I'm giving you three categorical reasons, yeah, that why your BPM projects will be there. So customer complaints, one of the major areas for BPM projects. Second, optimization of operational costs, major reasons for BPM projects. Or simply our good old, hey, I got business pain points, man. I need to discuss the business processes where I encounter such pain, and hence my cost of execution or operations is more. So just giving you a moment to digest this. Yeah. So guys, the most green field where you will have BPM projects is going to be either for customer complaints perspective or from operational cost or business pain points. All right. Any query you may have, you can ask me. I mean, once you have understood that what could be the three, primarily the reasons which will trigger BPM projects, number one. Second, what does BPM projects entail? Yeah. If that is the way it is, then I mean, you are good. All right. So now one of the key statements, BPM is less about technology, more about actually change. So guys, I'll tell you what, when you will encounter the BPM processes, right? I mean, you will encounter the processes which you need to optimize. Yeah. Trust me, they will be more about bringing those, kind of changes in business processes, which will help to satisfy a user better. Simply because it's going to make them more efficient. They're going to make them run through their day-to-day operations in a much, much bigger, better manner. Yeah. Now, if you see, the changes are done to the business processes. Frankly, the same business process is anyway being executed by certain technologies. When you do PPM, all I'm saying is it's a 80-20 ratio. 80% it is about changing a process to make it more efficient, and 20% it's only because you made certain changes from a technology aspects and you change the technical environment of that business process. Normally in BPM, you do not end up tampering with technology too much. Yep. Now, I'll tell you how. Let me explain. The idea is to change how people work. The idea is to simply make people realize that, guys, maybe you are not working very efficiently. Okay, and now if I have to analyze that, then obviously I have to log on to the business process, because that's the way you fundamentally work, right? So Udit, it's not about people management, it's more about process management. But because people are, intrinsically associated with the process, and obviously it crosses the road. Yeah. So your job is to make sure that the process is managed better, since people are related to the processes. Hence, it's in a way, it makes sense that it's you somewhere you are ensuring that it's the way to manage people better. Okay. But directly as a statement, I will stick to the fact that it's all about process management. Yeah. Okay. That's part number one. I think Jayashri had some query. Let me do that before we go forward. Okay, so Jeshri says, what is the difference between IT and BPM perspectives? Both deal with efficiency improvement based on technology. Can you elaborate? Yes, of course. So actually, your question gives the answer by itself, Jeshri. IT deals with efficiency improvement based on technology. BPM deals with efficiency improvement based on purely process and hence people. Okay, so that's the fundamental difference. Otherwise, guys, if you talk about perspective, obviously, every perspective is honestly there to do efficiency improvement. Yeah. So every process as such is anyway leading to better results. But how do those processes operate is something which, how do those perspectives operate is something what we need to look up to. Yeah. Okay. And that's what we are doing via visiting multiple perspectives. So IT is frankly about what it is. IT, information technology, essentially technology, which helps to drive information. Yeah. And BPM is, of course, a little different animal. So you got to be a little more tactful, because here you are dealing with process, which may not be a living situation, but behind the process are people, which is very, very living situation. Okay. So you need to be careful, sensitive, etc. All right, let's do more. Technology makes life easier by providing multiple solutions. Fantastic. We know that despite all the convenience that technology brings, process improvements can be achieved without technology because they are more about people. Simply automating a process does not improve it. So guys, keep this magic mantra in mind. Yeah. Simply automating a process through technology may not help it too much, because you may not have touched the fundamental nerve with people. Only when you produce the automations and make that understandable for the people to incorporate that in their daily life, it's then when your automations are successful. Okay. So one of you can remark, all right, Makraj, let's do BPM. Basically, what it's all about? It's just about mapping the processes, comparing with benchmarks, and say, all right, guys, here, here, and here, you're not optimal, right? But obviously, mapping is not enough. Needless to say, and I'm sure you understand very well, that mapping is the first trigger point. It's a start which gives you an accurate and precise heads up that where your processes have an issue. Yeah. But if you say that, okay, mapping is all I'm going to do and that's it, it's not a great idea, because excessive mapping in any ways will lead to something which you have learned earlier in the session with me, which says excessive analysis leads to paralysis, right? So excessive analysis is anyway going to lead to a kind of a paralysis, which means your innovative thought window will shut down. So you should know when to stop, because BPM goes beyond merely creating process repositories. It goes beyond mapping, it goes beyond improvement, it goes beyond mapping the improvements to the people and then giving it a stamping saying, okay guys, this process is enhanced now. Yep, nothing major, guys. Just to give you a true perspective that the process mapping is also a lot about people. So in this perspective of business analysis, which we are doing, which is called business process management, which is a greenfield area where a lot of you are going to end up doing projects, right? That's what we are trying to learn now. Okay, so let's now try to answer the question what, which means, okay, we understood BPM. Now, what is done in BPM? Okay, number one, clearly keep your golden target to enhance and evolve the processes. Please don't go to replace them every now and then. Do not replace processes. And I'm saying that because the process which has been used for so many years, for example, in a client organization, has its own advantages. It has a certain mass which brings a certain beneficial perspectives. People are familiar with it. You want to improve it, you can improve it by 30%. People, it'll be easier for you to make that 30% delta difference understandable to people. Yeah, that makes better chances of success to gain a more efficient parameter from the same process rather than replacing it altogether with the absolute new process, right? Okay, effort should be to streamline existing processes by making them more efficient and effective. Okay, and we should not really step into re-engineer too much. If the process needs only minor tweaks here and there, okay, then make it better. Then we should not go the longer way of replacing it, obviously. And as possibly reducing complexity is another good option, which means now we are coming to absolutely brass tacks, which means the ground rules of BPM. Number one, it seeks to modify and enhance the current processes, not replace them. Part number one. Second, while you modify a process, please keep your target on that one of your additional targets is to reduce the existing complexity of the business process. How does complexity came in? Oh gosh, this process is alive for the last 15 years in this client. For maybe 5-6 different service providers, technology service providers have come and gone by. All of them ended up customizing this process what they thought best for the client. Well, client was probably agreeing to it also, because normally when service providers come, they talk very nice. So as a client, you end up accepting those changes. Well, that service provider made those technology related changes to the business process, went away. Okay, then the process kept evolving, and then it needed another enhancement, and then another, and then another. It's great that the process underwent enhancement for efficiency improvement also, but guys, the pitfall is it also kept getting more complex and more complex. So remember, one of the fantastic buzzwords expected from you guys is simplification. Okay, while you may be very sharp shooting an analyst, but remember, simplification is something which the client will look forward to all the time from you. So please don't end up creating additional complexity to the client's business processes, rather simplify them, because that's a hidden KPI which nobody may talk about, but eventually your efforts will be mapped against that KPI, and then you'll be judged as good, bad, or an ugly BA. Okay. Okay, one of the highlights of BPM, you need to analyze and understand and view the process from end to end. Don't pick up a small cutout process in between. Because if you're going to actually improve the process, then guys, you have to map it end to end. Because when you say I'm improving the process, let's say I'm bringing improvement at step 3, 4. Okay. But remember that step 2 was the prerequisite to step 3, number 1. It was the feeder to step 3, right? So if you want to improve step 3, then you need to also look at step 2. And then you also need to look at step 1. Because it's only through the, kind of mapping of end-to-end processes that you will get, all right, now I get the holistically larger meaning of this particular business process. Now I understand why people operate the way I've seen, and hence why it creates errors also. Okay. And obviously, guys, so there is no point improving a portion of the process. Don't get into that habit, right? Because the fundamental purpose of business process management is process, data, system, people, technology, integration. Okay, so don't forget this statement, easily. BPM is all about integrating process with the right data, okay, with the right process, with the right people, and then integrate it together in the system. Yep. For example, if you take quotation to cash process. So in quotation to cash, it's all about purchase requisition, followed by purchase order, followed by sales order, followed by delivery, followed by goods issue, followed by invoicing to the customer. So if you have to, somebody tells you, hey, can you please analyze my quote to cash process? Then you know you need to start all the way from purchase requisition to all the way when the invoices are sent to the customer. Okay. Okay. Now, guys, we are on to the last perspective here. Business architecture. Now, business process you have understood, right? That's a little different way now. Okay, a business architecture is basically based on approach which allows for increased clarity of one step before BPM. BPM was that, hey, my process is executed, but it's not efficient. This one comes earlier. This is actually about the business process designed by itself. In business process management, you recognize the loopholes which are there in processes, remove those bottlenecks, and hence make it more efficient. Yeah, that is a pure operational area. Business architecture is one step before that, where you are actually designing the processes. So you need to have this business architecture perspective in mind, because all the new processes that will be henceforth designed in your client landscape, you should be clear that in terms of its purpose, what is the purpose of this business process, what is the design that we may have to do on that, and what is the scope that this will cover. Okay, three things must be taken into consideration when you're going to design new processes, and hence your business architecture perspective should come alive. So, okay, now if someone of you asks me, all right, Mukhraj, understood, but how it is operationally used? Business process perspective, guys, is operationally used to align strategic objectives of the organization and tactical demands of the business. Example, strategic objective is to enhance the customer service by 40%. Okay, looking at this objective, right, which obviously business has to achieve, right? So business will in itself make a demand for that. So they will make a demand for a certain ecosystem which is a mix of new designs of the processes, because in their existing process of customer service they cannot achieve any more better efficiency. So where are we? On the left is strategic objectives. On the left side is strategic objective of the organization. On the right side is tactical demand from the business in case they have to adhere to this objective. And in between is your business architecture. That's how you link the three up. Right? So guys, this way it provides a means to consistently and methodically address the gap and limitations in capability of the organization and the value stream which it produces. Yeah. So in a way, on the left is strategic objective organization, on the right is tactical demand of the business, and in between is business architecture. And then that's why I'm saying it is basically to address the gap between the left and the right. So left is strategic objectives, which is basically the organization is demanding more value creation for the customers. On the right hand side is business with their tactical demands. So they are saying, hey guys, we don't have capability yet. Our process lacks capability, our technology lacks capability, our tools lack capability. So how do we achieve that? To bridge that gap between capability and value creation comes, the knight in shining armor, which is your business process architecture. Or business architecture, sorry, not business process architecture, business architecture. So whereas on one side you have business process management, on the other side you have purely business process, business architecture, not process. Okay. Okay, let's see if we have something more on that. Yes, of course, we have something more on that. Okay. Fantastic. So, well, you're going to be a BA and you can put your footprint into business architecture as well, right? Fair enough. So this means, don't forget, there are going to be requirements from that side as well. Whether you work in any perspective, guys, you will definitely have requirements from stakeholders. That's the way you work. Okay. Now, all the requirements from a business architecture perspective. Yep. All these requirements artifacts will provide a structured way to capture and, well, let's call it warehouse, or let's call it knowledge management. That's anyways the specification used to precisely guide the change to products and services which can deliver value. What is this meaning of this thing? It means that the requirements output which gets generated from a business architecture perspective is actually needed to precisely tell us how we will, we'll do the appropriately right changes to products and services. Hence, it can deliver value. Now, why am I saying that? Business architecture is very useful in guidance. I'm saying that because when you talked about business architecture fulfilling the gap between strategic objectives of the organization and the demands of the business, what does that mean? That essentially means business architecture is recreating the architecture plan in a way so that the objectives of the organization can be achieved without business complaining about it. Why business will not complain? Because you enabled them with the right capability. Where did this capability came from? By analyzing the business architecture and then doing the needful changes. And for that, you obviously need, kind of a commitment in terms of requirement management and the business architecture, framework. Now, let's say I have been a failure 3 years back, probably. No, 2 years back, when I was actually working with the client closely on the business architecture. I didn't fail because I didn't understand the concept. I didn't fail because the organization didn't need business architecture. I failed because the commitment to align business requirements and business architecture was bypassed by the client. They didn't have too much of maybe budget. So they bypassed this longer exercise, which Mukhraj was doing to align their business requirement. Yeah. So again, business requirement was the tactical demand from the business. And business architecture was the strategic objectives with which the organization wanted to move forward. I was just trying to bridge the gap by creation of a right capability. As my discussion had barely started, the client came back and shelved that project. And rather they just quickly went for a quick fix. Something which like momentarily, which can bring, solace. And the client thought that they have achieved a certain value. So they bypassed a longer term perspective in favor of a very short term perspective. Okay. So business architecture is a framework for business requirement analysis. Now it comes to you. Okay. Requirements are framed and aligned using business architecture to ensure that they address the perspectives. Number one. Business architecture provides a consistent framework for aligning what customer wants against what the organization provides. And obviously it drives continuous improvement as well. Such a framework which is based on business architecture provides business analysts and your relevant stakeholders with the visual business context that represents a logic between requirements and business components. Now, business components, you understand, right? That's the fundamental on business operates. For example, for a service oriented industry, you know, the business components is more on customer service, the business component is more on timely delivery of services, the business component is more on post sale satisfaction index, etc. That's business component. Yeah. And now here you are using business architecture, to trace the link between requirements which you got from your stakeholders and the business components. So eventually, guys, the discussion boils down to the same thing. Low customer service is a pain point. We are addressing some kind of gaps like that by not via business intelligence way, not via IT way, not via any other way. We are actually analyzing the business architecture which exists as of today. And what is that? Well, this company operates on certain components. That components mixed up together form the business architecture. Yeah. So for a retail client, I will say, okay, their distribution channel, their divisions, their primary customers, their primary sales, how do they track their secondary sales, blah blah blah. All that is like a business component. Okay. I'm going to reorganize those business component. For example, today, oh sorry, not today, 4 years back, 5 years back, maybe we only had retail shopping. Today, online shopping is far outstripping the growth rate of retail shoppings. Well, it was a business component which we thought of and opened up. So e-commerce is purely a best example of business architecture, whereas consumer shoppings via online only. Who could have thought about it, guys? That I will buy my jeans without trying them out. But today, the standardization of jeans has become so fantastic that I know I want a straight fit. Okay, my waist size is so and so, my length is so and so. Okay, and so the standardization of design has so become so well. You can't go wrong in buying a jeans online. And business architecture, guys, I think Rishabh yesterday was pointing out, maybe from a service oriented perspective, business architecture is tremendously used by service industry because they don't have a product as such. For example, they don't have a tangible product, they provide services. Let's say payment gateway is a service. Yeah, so it's not like a tangible product. There's no detailings, too much detailings to get into. It all boils down to customer satisfaction. So if I'm using a certain payment gateway and that doesn't give me any hassle, it's clean, clear, free, it's fraud free, my data integrity is assured, I am going to be good with it, right? Okay, so that's where, guys, the business architecture framework assumes more importance. So today, when let's say Amazon is focusing on its e-commerce business, I'm sure their BAs are more involved in business architecture instead of probably doing the requirements associations from, let's say, an IT perspective. Their IT is stable. They've already implemented technologies. They have dusted that. They have taken charge of technologies. It's stable. It's very regular. It's very consistent. The systems never go down. So then this means they shouldn't make any other improvement? Yes, they can. That is why these new perspectives came up. Hope you got it, guys. Yeah. All right. I think this is the last slide. Okay, good. So I think I'll give you a minute to just read and happily digest these things before I explain it. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's see what's up. Okay. I realize that sometimes when I want to explain a concept, it's better to just display its benefits. Most of the audience understands what the RAM concept is all about. Yeah. So if you look at the slide, guys, it explains in a very definite way how the business architecture helps. It improves the definition and completion of business cases. It improves the definition and completion of business cases through alignment or aligning customer stakeholders' needs, values, and capabilities. Okay, one thing we all understand, business analysis is all about understanding customers' needs. Let's call them customer or stakeholders equal way, because for you, your stakeholders are your primary customers. Now, if you have to achieve their needs, organization must have the capability of making it achieve. And if it has the capability of making it achieve, the resultant outcome should be more of not an operational benefit but a value. So again, just like other perspectives, eventually business architecture is also converging to the same thing. Mixing up customer needs with the organization capability, and hence attempting to drive the output via a value stream. So that's a generic part of the benefits from business architecture. Yeah. Second thing is informed business decisions through the identification of capability, gaps, and misalignments between value streams and delivery channels. As I said, essentially it's rectifying the gaps between organizational objectives, yeah, which is nothing but a value proposition which the organization is asking from its business, okay, and business is attempting to deliver it, but they have certain gaps which they want you to address. That is where the BA comes in. Eventually it is a business pain point or business gaps. Anything or everything which is not not allowing the business to achieve its strategic objective has to be addressed. Now, whether you address it via one perspective, second perspective, or third perspective, that's up to you. But typically the usage of business architecture comes in when there is a gap between what the value organization is asking and the capability which organization has to deliver those things. If the capability is less, the value stream will not come up, right? And hence that is the time when hey, we don't have to use agile or IT. We actually have to step into business architecture. So all in all, it's the ability to provide accurate, consumable business requirements that define intended business objective through a language understood by both IT and business. We have read that before. It's a framework for effective identification of business functions requiring either the same or similar capabilities for reusing by closing the defined value and capability gaps. Okay, that's too much of a jargon. Okay, so very simply, guys, business architecture is used where there is a perceptible gap between business capability and what the organization wants. Number one. Number two, when you come upon a scenario like that, hey, I'm a BA and I need to use the business architecture perspective. Number three, what do I have to do here? Well, you have to find requirements, but where? You have to look at their business model, their components, and then see which of them is running short of expectations. That's the target area which you will try to bridge. Now, whether you want to bridge it in this way or that way, that's up to you. But I would say you have diligently used the business architecture perspective to arrive at the problem statement. Okay. All right. So this is good. This is good, guys. 138 slides in all. Fantastic. I think we had a great time. No, I think that's something which we have done earlier. Perfect, guys. So I think this one is over. There are a few slides, but I think we have done that in some previous session. Let me just take a look. Yeah, analyzing requirements we have done, characteristics of effective requirement, prioritization. Business driven, requirement driven, documentation. Okay, BRD. Yeah, that's where we now want to come to. Fantastic. Okay. So guys, just a quick 2-3 sliders on BRD before we step into details. Yeah, just a glimpse for you. BRD is one of your principal deliverables. Yeah. So this deliverables is something which captures everything that you have done during your business analysis sessions with the client. So it's a document, or it's more of a requirements package, which means that you packed all the requirements together and dumped them into something called BRD. Yeah. So it's a document which you can say which describes all the requirements in perfect details. That was our exit criteria as a business analyst, right? That we wanted to come to a point where we can pick and choose, describe, detail all the requirements in a very defined manner, and hence we feel that now we have come to the point of arrival where IT teams now can start stepping in case technology is involved to make improvements in this client's landscape. Okay, so is BRD only about collection of requirements, or is something else also? No, it is a lot more than that. So if you look at the screen, which I'm going to put in a presentation mode. Okay. So the most common objectives of BRD. You have put in a long and a hard effort of maybe a couple of months to discuss with stakeholders and arrive at an output. You need to document that? Yes. But this documentation is obviously much more than just requirements, right? It has all the background and prerequisites which were required because the client want to go on an automation journey. So department by department, we analyzed, we checked out an entire as is. We realized that some departments are very mature, some of them are very naive. So obviously the degree of work which we have to do for not so mature departments in order to take them into automation is way more than other departments. So guys, in short, all those detailings are into BRD, and hence I will call it a document to gain agreement with your stakeholders. Yeah. So once your stakeholders want to sign off on your project, they will ask for the BRD, go through it, have 2-3 rounds of their query sessions with you, sign it off, and then your requirements are fully done officially. Yeah. Okay. What is the second most common objectives of BRD? It is to provide a foundation to communicate to a technology service provider, which is, let's say, a typical Wipro or TCS or Accenture, what the solution needs to do to satisfy customers' business needs. And that's obvious, right? Because when you say that all the requirements are described, obviously it has a high level solution design as well. So that gives a firm heads up to the IT teams that what do they need to do and where do they need to start from. Okay. All right. So anyway, you describe solution in general in a BRD. And we will see a BRD likely today, which will tell you all about it in terms of and get a comprehensive understanding. Okay. Now we understand why this deliverable is very important for business. Oh, by the way, who helps you to create a BRD? Yep. So all these guys jointly create BRD. Even though I won't deny the fact that you are the owner. Yeah. So it's your baby. BRD is a business analyst baby. Yep. But people help. For example, subject matter expert, right? It helps to bring in the necessary domain perspective in the BRD so that your explanations include those terminologies which gives the confidence to the customer that they have tailor made the solution, business analysis solution for me. So you need to be that smart for sure. Yeah. Similarly, project teams, yep. So the functional designer, the technical designer, they all help you to give in that right inputs to frame that high level solution. Because your high level solution, which is just one step short of writing in actual specifications, right, it should be very clearly, thoroughly, explaining the concept of solution design. Yeah, and don't forget that you took dope from these people to go and drive those workshops with the client in order to arrive at a clear to be solution. Okay, so that's important. Yeah, so the project core team members, especially in terms of functional and technical analysts, help you to frame a high level solution for your requirements. Okay, then for example, project management, right? So that refers to the project manager. Yes, project manager is very helpful because he helps you to estimate whatever new changes or requirements you're bringing in, or any requirement you bring in. Project manager helps to estimate that based on his previous experiences, so that he knows that this requirement will take 20 days to develop, by the IT team. This requirement will need probably 50 days. Yeah, so that's important, because you need to go back to the client and tell them that you cannot accept certain requirements because they'll take too long time to get developed, and your project budget doesn't allow that. Yep. Business partners are the business partners of the client. So let's say there's a third party association which also has its proprietary software, working with the client. So since the rest of all technology landscape of the client has been dismantled by us. When we say us, it's a service provider, right? So we need to obviously cooperate and seek cooperation from the business partner, because your code is into the landscape, their code and tools are also into the landscape. Our journey to improve and automate the customer's processes will never be complete till the time we make right changes with them. This means if your process improvement suggestions clearly gives out this output that in the third parties softwares or business partner softwares also changes have to be done, then they have to be done. So then you will rely on the client to facilitate the discussions between you and the third party providers. Okay, so fantastic. What does a BRD consist of, right? What are the different table of contents, sections, right, which populate a BRD? So in brief, guys, okay, so this is a very important slide because it tells you that, okay, when you start making BRD, what are the important things you should have information on. First and foremost is project overview, which means that what is the project scope, what is the project's objectives, etc., etc. Yeah. Second thing is your current environment assessment, which is nothing but your as is. So while you will spend a couple of weeks on doing as is, from a technology perspective, from a business process perspective, from the business pain areas perspective, you will collect all that information in a crisp manner so that you can use that to populate your BRD. Yeah. So similarly, as is will also contain your as is process mapping. Okay. Then what did you do next? Well, you sat with the client to understand their to be vision, future vision, and then you guys jointly came upon the fact that where you are today to where you are going, want to reach tomorrow, there's a gap. That gap is called gap analysis. So we analyze the gap, that's what you will do with the client, and then come upon certain remedial measures, whether the gaps addressal needs process automation, or it needs certain new tools, or it needs transforming the process itself, etc., etc. So those detailings will be part of your BRD, which means you will put a future process map and include the detailed tables, for example. Then overall, when you encounter the as is and to be discussions, is there any specific business rules, right, which you want to incorporate in your BRD because they are significantly important business rules? Similarly, what is the impact assessments that you have done? That now that you guys are working with the clients on the to be vision, right? So you find you are saying, you are suggested eventually, that okay, we need to change certain processes and transform them, etc. What is the impact of that? All that detailed exhaustive impact needs to be there. Whether it is good, bad, ugly, we'll decide later, but we need to know that by changing the process, whether the business revenue will be going up or going down, whether the customer satisfaction will be going up or going down, whether your internal team members will be comfortable to use these new processes, and whether their comfort will be going up or going down. You need to have the different assessments in your BRD, right? Then, guys, there's going to be the regular schedule, budget, terms, conditions, definitions, approvals, etc., etc. And sometimes something on the functional side or data side as well. Typically, yeah, I mean, you can't really put all those data migration templates into your BRD, not required. But of course, you need to give a brief overview. What is the data aspect in this particular project? What is the functional requirements which are particularly related to this, this particular project? So just a brief mention, because in any case, detailed functional requirements will be built in your functional specification, right? But because it's the most logical next step from a BRD, so you may like to mention at a high level what the functional consultant has provided you in form of a, he won't give you a specification, but he will tell you that from a specification perspective, what is that they are thinking to make us design a detailed solution for this requirements. Yeah. So that's fine, guys. I think sign off is a long way, and we need to do quite some few exercises behind that. Okay, once it is done, only then you typically get over at least your fundamental part of your project, the primary need of requirements, etc., get over, and then now you can step into the IT part. Okay, let's see if you have some queries. Yeah, so I think Sumit has asked a good question. So he says, what tools are used for BPM? So for example, guys, when I did BPM for a couple of projects, right, there are multiple tools, of course, as many as you can ask, but one of, let's say, I'll give some examples. Like, for example, I typically work on clients which work in SAP. Yeah. So obviously SAP is a huge ERP, very expensive and used by almost 80-85% of this world's organizations in Fortune 500. So it's a very successful ERP. So SAP provides a BPM tool called Solman, also called as Solution Manager. So which way I used it for business process management. Solman as a tool is capable to create a business process mapping, number one. Number two, you can directly connect Solution Manager to the systems in order to drive the configuration or reconfiguration of the business process, in the IT system. Yeah. Third, Solman is capable to test those, configuration changes that you may have done. So it also allows testing, and that it also allows some deployment. So eventually, it's a tool which helps to bring, everything from that aspect, and hence it is a BPM tool. Okay, so if this is fine, guys, then I will just shift my attentions to something else. Okay, so let's now go somewhere else. Okay, so any other queries, guys? Yeah, so Solman, for example, is one. Oh, SO Udit is sales order. That was an example from a sales order perspective from our customers, right? Okay, Sumit is asking if requirements changes in future due to industry demand or any other reason, does it get captured in BRD? So Sumit, today you did a project with a client, you created a BRD. Yep. Now the BRD is the final deliverable for that particular project. If in future some of those requirements which you built are now must be changed, you know, to bring a different improvements in the system. Okay, so let's say today's project you did and tomorrow's project, let's say Jayashree did. So Jayashree will now create a new BRD, because if the requirements have changed, the requirements which you did 6 months back, but today, even after 6 months or 1 year, if they need to be again changed because the business condition has changed, so then Jayashree will do that project as a BA. She will revisit all your business requirements which you conceived and which were implemented also, and then she will create a new BRD. And if you're talking about in future within your project, so you did a project where you gathered the right requirements and then you have um, put them into the build up phase with the IT teams, and then you are saying if suddenly business condition change and the clients came back running with the special request that some of the requirements need to undergo change, yes, you will do it, that changes in your BRD itself. Except that obviously, you know, because it's a additional piece of work, so you know, obviously changing the existing configuration is a big deal. So it's an additional piece of work, so you will create them as add-on requirements and probably you will charge the customer. Yeah, but yes, you will change your BRD. Okay. Okay, fantastic. So guys, now let's go to something which we want to do here. Mm. Okay, so now I think it's time to step into the case studies. Okay. All right, I see certain queries. Let me see that. What do they say? Yeah, Udit, we will take some little break. Hang on. Let me just quickly answer these queries and then let's take a break. So Abhilesh is saying, can you please share how Solman software works? Okay. So guys, Solution Manager is a tool provided by SAP. Okay. So it connects to your SAP system, which means the server in which you have installed the SAP software, Solution Manager connects to that. Number one. Solution Manager is designed to produce a lot of services. First of all, it can keep a track of your system's monitoring, which means you have production system, development systems, etc., and multiple systems. For example, SAP BI can be put on a different system. Typical ERP is put on a different system. So you have multiple systems. Solution Manager is a one-stop shop to monitor all those systems because it is connected to all. So when we connect solution manager to all the system, first of all, we tend to monitor that if all the business processes are running good, and second, if the system is running good, so that both of them should not go down. That's point number one. Second is, you can create a repository or documentation of business processes in solution manager, which means you can create details on as is documentation, you can create a details on to be documentation. Now, as you create inventory for as is documentation, or let's say when the to be documentation, so as is and to be, whatever is the gap is also listed as a within the same documentary documentation which is uploaded in solution manager. So this is only the documentation part. You can create business processes and then you can attach the documentation for that business process next to that, so that anybody walks into solution manager wants to say, okay, I want to see sales order processes. Fine, you take a drill down approach, go down to sales orders, and right there in one of the additional cockpit you'll see documentation of sales order attached to it. Documentation which is now made by the project team because there are certain requirements on the sales order process. Okay, so this is the process mapping part and documentation part. Now remember, solution manager is connected to your R3 systems, or let's say your SAP systems, right? So sitting in solution manager, you can directly jump and log in into your SAP system server, and there you can go into configurations, you can change configurations, and then you can save them and then come back to Solman. What did you do? You just change the custom configurations of a business process because now, because of a requirement, you need to do that. Now remember guys, for everything you are using solution manager. So what happens is, because you are doing all the project work based out of your solution manager, so that system starts keeping a track or a lineage of all the activities which you have done. Since all the activities regarding the requirements and its execution you have done while sitting in solution manager, so it keeps a trace of everything. That is how process mapping, documentation upload for the processes, configurations of the SAP system sitting in solution manager. Similarly, testing of the again you can carry on all the testings of like functional testing, integration testing in the SAP system, but sitting from solution manager. So from there only you can conduct transaction codes, you can run transactions, you can receive results. So whatever is happening in SAP system is governed and monitored from solution manager. Hence, it is a BPM tool because everything about the business process, its mapping, its documentation, its configuration, its testing, and its resultant achievements, right? All are tracked from solution manager. Now, it is very SAP specific, by the way. Okay, because it's an SAP tool, so it connects very well with the SAP systems, and that's where you can use this as a BPM tool. Okay, so Shant is saying gap analysis included in the BRD for process assessment or functional assessments or both levels. So yeah, so Sushant, it's for both. So guys, any gaps which you find during your as-is and to be, whether they are related from a process improvements or from functional improvements, which is functionality, you need to pick them up and dump it in your BRD. Yep. Okay, fantastic. So let's go further. Yeah, I think we can take a short break. Okay, so just let me set the ground before we go for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So guys, we have done all these business aspects. I'm sorry, all these knowledge areas we have covered. Okay, plan, business analysis, approach, elicitations, requirement management, communication management. We have talked about enterprise analysis. We have talked about requirement analysis. Okay, and solution assessments. After that, now we are on to our case study. Okay. Okay, fantastic. So guys, welcome to our case study. But listen, I think some people amongst you requested. So fine, we will take a break. But listen, it's only a 10 minutes break. It's not that 20 minutes of tea coffee break. We'll probably do that a little later. So let me start the case study in 10 minutes, cover a certain grounds, and then we can come back to take a better break. Okay. All right, fantastic. Okay, Greg, let's call it a small bio break so that you should not confuse it with the tea break. All right, let's call it 10 minutes only. All right, fine, guys. Let's see you in some time. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, guys, I think we can be back. on here. We don't know how it goes. Hey guys, you can hear me well? Shall we start now? Yep. Okay. All right. So let's see what company you are going to handle in the next couple of days. Okay. Everybody's back. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, guys. So your company is called Mumbai Communications. It's a fictitious company, needless to say. Provides local long distance phone services for residential and business customers. Okay. Mumbai Communications. It also provides high speed internet services to the same market and also provides cellular phone services. Well, looks like Mumbai Communication is pretty much well entrenched in as a communication company. Okay, so cell phone provider, just like Airtel. High speed internet provider, just like, for example, Airtel. Long distance, short distance telephone services, again, just like a communication company. Yeah. So that's the main forte. Headquartered in Mumbai, serving a large customer base. Revenue for previous year was $50 million, 200 full-time, 30 part-time employees. Not too big, not too small either. Okay. Oh, last 5 years, company has been real bad, guys. It's having reduced business and residential market shares. So the market shares are dropping. So is customer satisfaction. So is network support cost, which is rising. Okay. So two things are down, one thing is up, but all the more they're all looking at eating up the profit lines of Mumbai Communication. So always in the last 5 years, year by year, the network support cost keeps on going up, right? The operating cost keeps on rising, fair enough. But unfortunately, in this case, even though the network costs are going up, their market shares are dropping, the customer satisfaction is tremendously dropping. Okay. Mumbai Communication attributes the loss of market share to the entry of cable companies. The cable companies, for example, like Hathaway, have now entered into phone and high-speed internet business. So this means Mumbai Communication obviously is having some stiff competition. Now, remember, Mumbai Communication is a large company. So their operating expenses would be any day more than a small player, right? But now there are too many small players which have come into the market. And these small players typically were cable operators, which have now slowly come into providing, the phone services and high-speed internet as well. Okay. Okay, so the situation is elaborated into a solution throughout the case study, which depicts the application of each task. So whatever that we have learned as an empirical task within the course content, curriculums, etc., we shall be applying it in this situation. Yep. Okay, let me first take you to your stakeholders. Ah, yeah, here we go. You know the importance of stakeholders, right? Here are, guys, your stakeholders. So, as I explained yesterday, you will get a call from these stakeholders, 5 of them in the coming week. They will all talk to you. They are all department heads of this fictitious company. And they would like to give you a complete, details about what do they have problems on, why did it happen. They don't know where it's going, obviously, because they're looking forward to, a BA is doing some kind of a detailed analysis on their business context, right? So during the course of discussion, guys, you can ask them questions, but don't maybe try to give them or validate a quick fix solution, right? Because they are very patient people. So you have about few weeks to, evolve this solution. Okay. And for which I'll give you a walkthrough in the next weekend also. But for now, just listen to them. Ask them questions. These are the two things which you have to primarily do towards them. Okay. Let me introduce you to all of them. First is Jessie. Jessie is a sales manager, which means she's responsible to grow sales. Okay. So what does Mumbai Communications sell? They sell customer accounts for cell phone services, right? They sell customer accounts for internet services. They sell services like telephone, long distance, telephony, short distance telephony to customers. So essentially their job is to get more customers enlisted into their services. Yeah, that's Mumbai Communication for you. And Jesse is the sales manager who's driving this effort. So Jesse has a sales team. Yeah. Mind you, guys, just to also tell you that Mumbai Communication also has a very strong customer relationship management call center. Yeah. So through the call center, they obviously keep a track of their existing customers, obviously for sustainability, right? And they also keep a track of all the new customers which they can enlist. How do they enlist customers? Typically, guys, the sales process starts from the customer relationship management system that Mumbai Communication has in its call center. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good system through which they generally skim through social medias and any kind of portals or websites where they can get information about their customers, or rather people who are not yet their customers. Yeah. So they get information about people and then they try to analyze that and obviously try to slot them into what kind of services would they like to offer them. Cell phone services, high-speed internet services, telephony services, etc., etc. So essentially, broadly, what I want to say is they use a CRM system to come out with potential leads of customers who can be likely be given a business proposition from Mumbai Communication side so that they can generate interest, and then to satisfy their interest by giving responses to their queries, Jesse leads the sales team, which then goes and visits and meets the customer, and then accordingly, they tend to close the deal. Okay, so this means that they enlist you as one of their customers for either one services or multiple services. That's Jesse for you. Okay, all right. Then comes Sana. Sana is the department head for the telephony. So she is responsible for telephony systems only. So she is responsible to make sure that the telephony systems runs well. Yeah, and the system is never down. The processes are always up, and the efficiency is perfect. Yeah, so these are now operational leads for you. So Sana is for telephone department. Joy is for internet services. Yeah. So So Joy is responsible to provide the high-speed internet, which means essentially the backend system, which means the technical system, the functional systems, etc., for internet provision, all falls under Joy. So everybody in this case, guys, has a 30-40 member team, which are responsible to either provide consistency of services or the sales support or the directly sales itself. So all these departments are divided like that. Okay, and then let's meet Manish. Manish is responsible for cellular systems. So his job is to maintain and optimize the cellular network. So he's responsible to make sure that the signal bandwidth and the power and intensity of the signal is uniform. There's no crawl drop, for example. There are no complaints like that, and obviously there are complaints like that, right? We all suffer call drops, so we all complain to our service providers, and then they try to rectify it. I don't know they do or they don't do, but my call keeps dropping anyways. Yeah. So Manish is responsible for cellular departments. Yeah. Jessica is a call center manager for Mumbai Communication. So she's responsible to enhance the customer database with all the new customers that they have enlisted, number one. Then taking care of the existing customers for their various queries like, their complaints and then their errors in their billings and so on, so and so. And I think you understand the way, call centers for such organizations work. Yeah. Is this clear, guys? Is this clear, all the stakeholders and what are their roles and responsibilities? Yep. Is that okay? If that is okay, then I would like to step into the levels of conversations that you will be having with these stakeholders. Okay. So let me bring you up to that speed. Okay, so it's going to be a mixed week, guys. I mean, we are trying. Imaticus is trying to make sure that all the 5 stakeholders are able to call all of you, but this is a little larger batch. So I don't know whether approximately I don't know. We'll need probably for about about 100 plus calls which have to happen. Yeah, because I think we have about 15, 16 odd people in the batch. We have 5 stakeholders. So, close to about 80, 90 odd calls which are going to be made. So we will try our best. But whatever experience you have in this week, for example, instead of 5, you talk to 3 stakeholders, please make sure that the conversation goes usefully well. You are able to ask your queries and satisfy your curiosities. And also, please understand that this is designed to give you a good experience of being with the stakeholder, something which frankly no other training institutes that I know of give this kind of a simulated case study. So please adhere to the protocols and please appreciate that what is going to happen. You can make most use of it if you are an active participant in the project study. Okay. All right, good. So let's come back where we are, guys. So let's go step by step. Who are we gonna meet first and last, etc. Okay. So guys, now you are speaking to Jessica. Jessie, so example, not Jessica. Jessie, the sales manager. The department head for the sales department, right? She's responsible for growing sales and keep updates on all the new products and services in the market. Okay. So let's say the conversation begins and you say, hey, hi, Jesse, my name is Jeshri and I'm your business analyst. I'm here to have that short conversation with you, you being my stakeholder, in order to get to understand that what are the levels of challenges you're facing in Mumbai communications, where is that you have potential areas of shortfalls, where you feel that your processes are going weak, where you feel that we are going low on customer satisfaction. So I want to know that from you, so that I can make an assessment and try to, get this information into the other larger information so that I can start analysis. Okay, this is the opening content. Okay, so first of all, guys, how will you start a conversation? Please address directly and go after exchange of pleasantries always. try to directly talk to the stakeholder about the issues that he or she are facing, right? So you can definitely, start your first question as that I understand that you have a concern that there's a continued reduction of market share in Mumbai communication as customers are not signing up, right? So you want to ask Jesse that what do you think is the reason, right? Now, I obviously I don't want to say what Jessica might say, but since we are having a mock conversation, so that you can understand each of your stakeholders very well, and hence you can have a better experience of talking to them tomorrow and in this week. We are just doing a mock trial, right? So I suspect Jessica might say that that there is a noticeable decrease in the level of customer satisfaction. Yeah, and that's something which all my sales teams have experienced. So our sales teams are, kind of some teams which go east, some go west, some go north, some go south. So then sorry, in this case, she is trying to tell us that there is a definite decrease in the level of customer satisfaction, which her sales teams, which cover departments like telephony, cellular, internet, and other services, they've all heard it from the customer. Yeah, and honestly, I won't be surprised, guys, that these days, if there is a deficiency of, I mean, the value which clients, which companies' products bring up, we are very quick to take a decision and we stop using that. So customer is very sensitive these days. And in any case, we as customers try to attach multiple inputs from, on the internet, on different portals, etc., like Google and all that, where we want to tell that how good did we enjoy the service provider. Okay. Now, Mumbai Communication knows this. Yeah, Mumbai Communication knows that as per the feedbacks posted by the customers on social media and definitely other portals, etc., there is a decrease in customer satisfaction, which means customers are not happy with any of their services, probably, be it telephony, cellular, internet, etc., etc., right? So Jesse might like to say that, what, I don't think we as a company are providing customer with faster and efficient services. So she says, obviously, my sales teams, is never able to probably close any deal with any of these customers for last 2-3 months. Yeah. So, and obviously, Jesse, being the sales head, right, will be aware there's a clear attrition of customers from their current numbers. And on top of it, she has access to all the market research that has happened in the recent weeks, months, etc. So she's sitting on that information as well. Yep. So if you want to ask her that, hey Jesse, why don't you tell me what are the issues that they are really facing? So Jesse might like to tell you that, hey, it starts all the way when we start attending to them from the call center itself. We register new customers, we attend to their existing customers' queries, we do invoicing, we do collection follow-ups, there are technical issues the customers are facing. All right. So she feels that we are working as a company on redundant technologies. Yeah. So she says, I'm not sure that we can do anything good which can offer a categorical value to your customers. So she knows that we are working on, we're working on weak fundamentals. For example, guys, remember and be very cautious here now that you are into a real case study. Now, in case of a service-oriented company, where I earlier suggested that maybe the product doesn't assume too much of significance, but the service does. You may like to make a note of this point, whether Mumbai Communication is a KPI-driven company. Because if they are not following, the different departments are not following KPIs, then we have no means of governance. Yeah. So if there's a lack of governance, which means your services are not properly monitored the way they are dispersed, then I'm afraid you are going to have a little situation. Yeah. Okay. So this is the beginning of Jesse's problems. Now, logically, guys, I know all of you will ask her, how do you suggest that we can arrest these, areas to retain our market position, our market share, etc., etc.? I think Jesse might answer that we need to add new products, the same products which are offered by our competitors. Now you may like to make a note of this thing, guys, that Mumbai Communications product portfolio is not as good as their competitors, which means even if it is a medium-sized good company, it was not able to keep a track. It was not able to keep a track with, its competition. So smaller players came in, but they were more agile, they were more flexible, they were more sensitive towards the customer, right? And that's how they gained market share. And that's something which we are trying to find out from Jessie. Okay. All right. Again, back to Jessie. So she's going to probably tell you that, we need to add to the overall portfolios of products, services, etc. Right? Because the new services will, of course, complement the existing services, but Jessie's idea is that we have 10 services. Let's start another 5. Yeah. For example, they are not into cable business. So probably she's suggesting that, okay, let's start cable services. Why? She says not only that we will probably add new customers, we will reduce current operating cost in case there is a synergy between cable business, between telephone business, between internet business, etc., etc. So remember, you may like to note this point, that there seems to be a department decentralization which has already happened in Mumbai Communications. So the departments are independent departments. Probably, who knows? All of them might have their own profit and loss statement as well, which I suspect so, because all the 4 or 5 different departments that we are seeing are very big ones. Yep. Okay. So, all right. So yes, she wants to bring in new customers because she wants to raise the curiosity of the market and in the interest of the market in favor of Mumbai Communication by, giving a lot of new products. So that's her way of start rolling the ball. Okay. Now, okay, another questions likely. So I'm saying, guys, if I was a BA, what I would have asked Jesse. Maybe my third question would have been that, okay, what are your views on major improvements that the company must undertake now to survive? Yeah. And then maybe I think she might say, okay, upgrading infrastructure, upgrading systems, maybe clearing out redundancies, upscaling the systems to meet the demands of the coming times, modernize our system with better, products and more competitive prices. Well, that's her probable solution, which she's trying to give you. Yeah. Okay. If that is the case, okay, so you're hearing all that, okay? You're making notes of this, what Jessie is trying to tell you, maybe when she's actually talking to all of you, right? So your next question could be that, okay, what do you suggest that what new services do we actually bring in, right? So she may give you some ideas, she may not. Remember, guys, some of you may not end up liking the way the stakeholder may, talk to you because he or she may not give you a lot of information. Some stakeholders will give you information. With other stakeholders, guys, I'm afraid, but you'll have to take some assumptions and then work upon their departments. Because this is to replicate a real life scenario where when you will be a BAs, you may not be able to get the attention of all stakeholders. Yeah, so then you need to figure out if the stakeholder is not giving you information, what else can? If I don't have any material on Mumbai Communication, right? No worries. What is the standard assumption I can take which is least risk free? All right. So, Okay, so sorry, we were back on Jessie. So you were asking her something like, what do we do now? So she may propose that, guys, why can't we make Mumbai communication as a one single stop to to interlink all the services which a particular household needs, like having a basic telephone, yes, having high speed internet, yes, having cabling systems to watch the cables, yes, and on and on. So according to the sales head, remember sales head, Jesse, because sales heads are very different from the capability heads or the competence heads. Sales guys are typically sales guys. They want to just sell. So I don't know which way you might like to read the answers of Jesse, because many times your stakeholders will probably say something, they may or may not mean it, but I think I'll leave it to your wisdom to judge that. Okay, good. So you are having a fine conversation with Jesse, right? Now, if you ask Jesse, what is your total take on this situation? Yeah, I think Jesse may respond that, guys, basically I'm from sales, right? So I can talk from a sales perspective only. So if you're telling me to turn around the whole services that we are offering, I mean, we have to discuss that. But I mean, she understands the financial limitation and feasibility of doing so as well. Yeah. So that's why she's thinking that maybe you being a BA could be able to, maybe help her in some way. Okay. Fair enough. So that was, couple of. So guys, this is how you will ask her queries, so that you can solicit or elicit a right response. But I don't guarantee it may or may not be in the direction of leading up to a requirement. Yeah, that's frankly between you and the stakeholders. So which way you want to proceed on that, which way you want to progress on that, I will leave up to you, because you will have one window to talk stakeholders, guys, this coming week, and maybe another 2 3 days next week. But otherwise than that, you will have to take certain assumptions to start your BRD. You will have to just detail out the project overview. You will have to just detail out that what is the as is that you're encountering, but do that after your conversation with stakeholders, right? Because I'm not providing you any very, very detailed, kind of a study, I mean, study material from Mumbai Communication, but I'm briefing you up in detail so that you basically get it, that what is their current situation, and then what they need to do to, bring in the right automation, etc., so that Mumbai Communication can improve itself. Yep. Okay. Guys, you are understanding the mock exercise that we are doing in terms of how do you attend to the stakeholders? How do you elicit maximum information from them? Right? Yeah. So somebody was asking me, how do we start conversation as a BA, etc., etc. So this is how we do. Okay. All right. So let's go down to the next one. Hey guys, do you want to take a tea break now? Do you want to grab some tea, coffee, or something like now, maybe for the next 10 15 minutes? Can we take that break now? And after that, we will continue detailing out the profile of the rest of the four stakeholders. So we will again do a mock situational conversation trial, when you will be talking to Sana, when we will be talking to Joy, when you will be talking to Manish, and so on and on. Okay. All right. So okay, fantastic. You should have told me. Fine. Okay. So tea break, guys. Let's make it 15 minutes. Okay, over and out. Hey guys, are we back? Okay, guys, let's assemble up. Let's assemble together, and maybe we can start as soon as everybody's in. Okay, guys, I think we can begin then. Let's go back to where we are. So, who did we discuss? We discussed Jesse, right? Okay. Now, let's discuss Sana. When we discuss Sana, I'm saying let's discuss the most probable conversations that may likely happen between you and Sana. You may like to take my conversations as maybe start points. You can take it at trigger points. You can reuse them. Either way, but it's just a way in which you are trying to obviously learn as much as well that how to deal with the stakeholder in a conversational mode. Yeah. Remember, you are at full authority to ask back any kind of questions that come to your mind based on what the stakeholder is trying to tell you. All right. And remember, asking question is quite a good habit because a thoughtfully provocative questions will always lead to some kind of an additional information from the stakeholder, which will always be very handy for you in terms of your requirement elicitations, etc. Yeah. Okay. And by the way, when you are talking to stakeholder in this case, obviously, guys, that you are just beginning the conversation. So obviously, it's nowhere going to be anywhere near requirements. But remember, after that, you are able to talk to stakeholders, and then you'll probably start off with the as is based on certain assumptions. You will only evolve, not actually you, we, because we are going to do this case study jointly. So I'll help you with a certain solution proposition next week end so that I'll run you through a kind of a solution which you may like to look at. Yeah. So I actually have a solution deck which I'll run you through. Plus I also have a solution BRD which we have done with earlier batches for Mumbai communication. So I'll run you through both. Then I will leave it to your origination, your creativity, your origination of your thoughts, and that how you want to populate the content in the BRDs. Okay. All right. Good. So let's get back to Sana now. Okay. So long distance and local telephony department. All right. So just as a preview, Sana is responsible for keeping the local and long distance phone systems functioning and cost effective. All right, exchange of pleasantries. Hello, hello, Miss Sana, and so we are the BAs and we are here to help you out, etc., etc. Yep. So Sana, guys, has something like a real-time issue. Yep. There is a continued reduction again of market share for her enlistment of new customers, and they are definitely not signing up for solicitation of, the services from her. Now remember, all these departments operate via Jesse's sale department. Okay, because the origin of digging a new customer starts from call center. They line up prospective leads whom then the sales team contacts, connects up with, and try to convert them into their customers. Yeah, that's the usual sales process. Okay, so same problem. Sana, hello, what's up? What do you think is any specific reason for this reduction of customers? Yep. Now, if you look at it from Sana's point of view, she may say that we almost offer all services across the spectrum of telephony: phone communication, internet calling, mobile communication, faxing, voicemail, video conferencing. Okay, so this is all what they offer. But still, she feels that there is a dip in the level of customer satisfaction as experienced by her department, which is typically telephony, right? And the reason is, again, probably a little similar to what Jesse might have been saying, that the customers miss on faster and efficient services. Yeah. Now, guys, if two stakeholders or probably even more are talking the same points sometime, you may try to deduce a firm assumption out of it that somewhere during the previous years, etc., Mumbai communication did screw up on something. Yeah, maybe you can form an assumption that as the private players came in, and they bought newer, better technologies, maybe Mumbai communication didn't adapt to one. Yeah, so they were continuing with their probably the kind of technologies that they had, the equipment, the softwares, the hardwares, and the most important, the processes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So let's get back to Sana, right? So, hey, Sana, can you explain the depth of the issues a little bit more, right? Now, okay, let's think what Sana might say. She may say that, okay, in the field of technology, for example, which involves development, applications, deployment of communication services for the purpose of, various things, electronic transfer of voice, fax, data, etc., etc. She feels that today their competitors are providing telephony using digital technologies. Okay. And this advancement has reduced the costs in communication across the industry as a whole. And obviously led to the improvement of quality of voice services. And that's something which Mumbai communication misses. So guys, what do we deduce out of this? Each stakeholder will have its own point of view. Since with Sana, we are talking telephony, so obviously we would like to understand her point of view because she's the closest possible to the business problem. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that with many stakeholders, you may have to read between the lines to gather some sort of your requirement. Yeah. So, okay. So that's what is one of the exercise about. Yeah. Okay. So then I think one natural question from your side is, how do you suggest we can arrest these slippages and retain our position in the market, etc., etc. Okay. Now, likely some response as we can think of from Sana is, maybe that we need to update the infrastructure systems to create and support new products. Point number one. This, according to her, is probably going to increase the efficiency of the telephone systems, and it will not lose the customer base to competition. At least it will stem the tide. Yeah. So one of her suggestions, I think she may give that because she's referring now to the digital telephony, is probably, let's say, maybe VoIP, right? Which is voice over internet technology. Yeah. So she's saying that conventional telephony is being fiercely challenged by, by VoIP now, which is also commonly referred as IP telephony or internet telephony, etc. So she's saying either we switch over the same or we allow more automation of existing systems and products. So what did you get out of this, guys? You got automations, an idea of automation, digital telephony. So these are some of the pointers which Sana is now throwing at you. Okay, so any ideas you want to bounce off, guys, you can do it in between. Yeah, I just give you a moment of thought in case you might like to ask me queries or something like that. Okay. Okay, so all right. So I think one of the things which I can anticipate you to ask her is that, what is her view on any major improvements? I think that's a question which you asked Jesse as well, right? Any major improvements which the company might like to undertake to survive, because it's probably coming to a game of survival now. Yeah. So I think Sana wants to definitely clear off the redundancy which exists in the systems today. And she wants to upscale the systems, to the demands of the current times. So guys, the theme of Sana is to modernize systems with a bigger portfolio of products at competitive prices. Yeah. So she's giving you a hybrid solution in a way. At least the trigger point, if not a full solution, obviously. Modernization of systems with larger product portfolio and competitive prices. All right. So maybe, we might figure out later that how we can bring all the three things together. So this is to increase the obviously speed and efficiency of the products that are offered to the clients. And she feels only this thing can lead to a better service orientation of the customers. Yep. And so in a way, I mean, how do I decipher Sana's viewpoint is that we need to add, to the top line, which is revenues, to the bottom line, that's profit, and that can be done only via customer satisfaction. For customer satisfaction, we need to modernize the systems. We need to add more products at competitive prices. That way, we can fight against the competition as well. Second, based on our good big brand called Mumbai Communication, which is floating in the market for the last 15, 20 years, probably what the customers miss from them is the new services for which they have to go to the competitors. And that's where competitors slowly lure them away from Mumbai Communications. Yep. All right. So she feels that, the switch from old system to the new system will obviously brave through the transition. And it's during that time that we need to maintain our old system while the new systems kick in, so that the connectivity and link and the relationship with the customers do not break, right? That's her way of moving forward. Yeah. So, so in a way, what yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that yes, your questions for different. So, guys, I mean, Udit, sorry, this is Udit's query. Yeah. So the I'm talking, the 4 or 5 generic questions with the stakeholders. I'm obviously leaving it to you which way you want to pitch your questions. Now, I don't want to meddle into your creativity. Okay, so I, as a trainer, at this point of time, will give you only some generic things. Obviously, guys, it's obviously understandable that I'm trying to give you a bigger viewpoint of the stakeholders. I'm not focused on what typical questions you may ask, because that's your job. So even though I'm giving you some hints and different questions, yeah, I'm generally trying to tell you what the stakeholders may tell you back. Okay, because I'm telling you certain points of view, stakeholders will themselves tell you certain points of view. Together, those points of views may serve as a, probably a reference of context or something where you can start your thinking, right? So what questions to ask is typically what I may leave it to you. But yes, your questions will obviously be in line of what I'm trying to suggest. So you're asking them the width of their problems, you're asking them the depth of their problems, you're telling them to give you concrete suggestions, what they think from their point of view will help improve Mumbai communication. Yeah. And obviously, you are also asking very typical questions when you ask them that, okay, where do you think you slip against the competitors and why? Because obviously, guys, it's becoming a clear fact that competition is a large situation here. And Mumbai Communications' inability to fight competition is costing them heavy. That's why you're asking this question to every stakeholder. Okay. Okay. So then let's come down to internet now. So guys, let's have a visualization of a conversation with Joy. Uh, Internet services probably is a little more technical, so I don't know which way you want to attend to that, but I can give you some suggestions. Right. So just like other stakeholders, guys, Joy is also having, midnight worries going over what is the current status of the company. Um, just like other departments, Joy, as the department lead for internet communications, is also having the same problems. Now, so typically, I think you may like to know at least the reasons for the same, right? So I think Joy may have some different ideas. For example, let's say common methods of internet access by users include, like a dial-up with a computer modem, okay, via telephone circuits. Now, or maybe broadband over coaxial cable, right? Or fiber optic, or copper wires, right? Or Wi-Fi, or satellite system, or cellular telephone technologies. Yeah. Now, which infrastructure is being used by a internet provider makes a lot of difference to the speed at which the user is able to access the network, right? Because Joy's problem is probably slipping of the right bandwidth, to allow the customers to enjoy a hassle-free internet ride, right? And that's what probably his key concern is. Yeah. And I think in terms of further explanation, how a typical internet manager would like to explain, maybe, is that I think Joy may feel that, my feeling is that he may feel that, that the redundant systems are there. So while the hardware components in the internet infrastructure can often be used to support other software components, it is the design and the standardization process of the software that matters. So Joy is throwing a pitch at you. So he's saying that the design and standardization process of software is something which characterizes the internet and provides the foundation for its scalability and success. That's what is being missed at Mumbai Communication. Yeah. Okay, so this is typically Joy's essential reply to your queries. Okay, so I think logically you may ask that how do you suggest we can address these, challenges, etc. So, uh, so Joy would like to increase the efficiency of the internet systems, right? So he would also like to probably ask for some automations of systems and products. So Joy is also confronting a problem on additional or an large bill, which he gets every month for a manual effort that goes into his department. So he wants to reduce that also. Yeah. But yes, the circle of the matters is around older redundant systems, right? So hence, the sales team is also not obviously motivated to, do the needful towards the customer, and then customer service is also low. Yeah, so they have a lot of work which is going to get kicking very soon for all of them. Okay, so anyways, he's also converging down to customer satisfaction, to be able to meet the, for example, in his case, it's the speed of the network, right? So, I mean, it's obvious, guys. I mean, the very frustrating experience for Joy, for any customer, to be honest, to have an internet speed of 2 Mbps when you have signed up for 10 Mbps or 20 Mbps, right? So, Joy wants to clearly mitigate these things from his end. Yeah. Because according to him, it's basically the joy of riding the internet, which he's not able to provide to the customer, right? That's why, and of course, needless to say, guys, you know that, right? That in internet service providers, there are multiple small players which have come in now, which operate at a very local level, but they are able to not only give you very uninterrupted service, they are also able to correct your queries or complaints as soon as some trouble in the system happens. Yep. Okay. So that is basically from a cellular perspective. Okay. Let's see who else is there. All right. So then let's go over to call center business. Okay. All right. Hello, Mr. Call Center. So did we do cellular systems till now? No, we didn't do cellular, right? Oh, we didn't meet Manish yet. Sorry. Let's meet Manish first. Okay. Okay, so let's meet Manish, guys. Yeah. Manish is remaining, and obviously Jessica is also remaining. So let's do them, especially because cellular systems are definitely more complex, technically than others. And I think we have some, network engineers sitting in our batch who can definitely add to this context, right? So, okay, Mr. Manish, hello. What is your worry going on, etc., etc. Right? So, Manish has a. Let's look at Manish's problem. So, obviously, guys, every department lead is trying to expostulate his problem from his domain aspects, right? In this case, some of the important aspects of cellular services or cellular traffic is having issues like quality of service, traffic capacity, and then spectral efficiency. Then traffic capacity, traffic is of course the cell phone users, the density of cell phone users versus coverage, right? And then let's not forget that Manish has to target, he also has targets to minimize the network costs, and obviously without compromising the quality of service, right? So the principle of so-called signal strength as a subject is, um, is subject to, some phenomena called slow fading, fast fading, right? And interference from other signals. So the lifeline of cellular system depends on the network strength, right? And there, maybe Manish may like to talk about slow fading, fast fading, interference, call drop, etc., which results in the degradation, of the infrastructure, and he's not able to provide the right bandwidth spectrum to accommodate large call volumes into the existing situations. Yeah. So why I'm talking like that is that I want to talk typically the way a cellular department lead will talk. So guys, whether tomorrow you do any project pertaining to your domain or any other domain, should not be a big challenge, because typically BA may, according to the business situation, may or may not step very deep into the domain for a high level solution. Yeah. So since Manish is a cellular department head, so he will obviously talk from his domain perspective. Yep. Okay. So continuing with the, Manish problem area. So he says that, the more the traffic is generated from, the more customers are generated for us, the more, we need to install, the signal strengths, and we need to service those existing ones, etc. Because they call something, obviously this is called something called a base station, right? So base station in the cellular networks is, you know something which a traffic engineer can achieve by, by satisfying the increased population of customers by increasing the number of, base stations in the area concerned, obviously. Now, thanks to the redundant systems, Manish feels that the signal carriage that they have, leads to less clarity of voice, call drops, and host of other issues which keep plaguing the customer satisfaction. Yep. And this is obviously taking a toll on their formation of new connections. And so many comments have been published all over the social media comparing the timing and volume drops of Mumbai communication with their competitors. Okay. And with all this information, well, Manish feels that it's not a surprise that they are lagging behind. Okay. So, so guys, basically you need to also, obviously you are dealing with a customer where it's more of a systems problem. It's more of an infrastructure problem, right? And obviously, one thing is the infra problems, etc. But the business issue is also leading into customer relationships, and then, degradation of opportunities where you can solicit new customers, etc. So even though you see that you are working with Mumbai Communication, which is a decent brand, unfortunately, their current, let's call it system or IT issues have obviously plagued all that, and hence they have a systematic situation which now needs to be rectified. Okay. Any queries, guys? Then you can let me know. Or you can probably think of something which you probably want to ask me, which can help, I can explain something to you in that regard. Anything that comes to you. Okay. All right, guys. So let me see if you have a query here. Um, okay, so Sumangal has a query, but prior to that, do I have something else? Um, okay, so one of the queries here is, guys, if we want to know more about the finance or how much it's going to cost, who should we connect? So, okay, so guys, there's no finance stakeholder here. you can take a suitable assumption. And listen, for a telecom company, or obviously the Google is filled with all kinds of data which you want to take from a cost structure perspective. And obviously you have brought a very important point here, Jayashree, that what about finance? Because your overall process infrastructure and all other improvements are also linked to the finance world. So please visit internet domain, check for standard costings which are available from a telecom kind of a company's operating costs, and please assume what you think is right. Okay, eventually in this, your statistical exactitude is not very important. What's important is, as a BA, what kind of approach are you going to take here? So I think it's okay if you want to just take some assumption and go as ahead. Okay. Now, one of the queries is that after listening to all the stakeholders, do we need to propose a solution which can satisfy all? So, not really. You don't have to, give in this case a consensus-based solution, because all the department leads are typically have very isolated issues. And also being, technical, it's a technical product in nature. So typically, you won't have a kind of a so-called clash. So rule out any stakeholder clashes, because that's not going to happen. And so that, I want to relieve you of that burden so that you can go ahead and fix up like a good solution for them. So you can definitely take it as an assumption that, yeah, that's not going to happen. Okay. All right. So and obviously what I'm also going to do is maybe, I'm going to walk you through, some of the important concepts which are applicable in this case. So my idea will be to walk you through them after your stakeholders call, so that you get a fair amount of an idea that thanks to the conversation with stakeholders and kind of the trigger points that I'll show you, you should be able to get onto your thoughts to create a right BRD. Of course, your BRD will have, which I will show you maybe today itself to some extent. Your BRD will have as is, use cases, then it will have use case descriptions, etc. And if some of you have obviously may have challenge in that because the first time you're going to create it, then don't worry. I will walk you through a good BRD, now and after your stakeholders calls, so that you can quickly grasp that in this case, yeah, even though you may know a use case, right, that okay, the way a process is used, and that's why you have to put it into a graphical representation. But in this case, how the use case is going to be created, that I will show you. Okay, so all the components of BRD, I'll be able to definitely show you, so that being first timers, I just want to give you a clear hint on that. Yeah, okay. So let's shift to Jessica now, guys. Oh, I think Manish had anything more to say. I don't know. Okay, so okay, by the way, let me give you a parting shot from Manish. Yeah, I feel that Manish feels, yeah, that the cost that company will incur, yeah, in in creating in creating the new infrastructures, right, and maybe it may have to subsidize the customers prices, which is of course from a cell phone servicing perspective, since the anticipated increased usage could result in increased subsidy costs also, if there is any from a telecom department, for example. So with the massive upgradation that he intends that we as a company will do to move over to the next level of systems to offer better services, He's not so sure that how Mumbai Communication will be able to offset this cost increase, right? Because there is a mandatory regulation coming in that cell phone services providers have to subsidize the voice part for the customer. Yeah. And you know that it has happened in India, right? The voice part has been subsidized. So where we used to have 1 rupee a call came down to 50 paisa, came down to even much, much, much further. So he's saying, he's throwing a new challenge to you, saying that, guys, by the way, we also have new mandatory requirements from we have mandatory requirements from TRAI, for example. The TRAI is the Communication Regulation Authority of India, whatever. Yeah, so he's saying, okay, that's also a challenge which I have to see. And remember, because okay, so there goes Manish then. Let's come down to Jessica. Okay, then again, guys, Jessica is the call center manager, by the way. So she's responsible. Responsible for running the call center. Let's not call it typically a call center. It's more of like a customer relationship management center. Yeah. So guys, she's sitting with eyes and ears very close to the customer because she's the head of call center. So she knows what's going on in the market, right? Customers call them up. They call them up proactively to tell them about their complaints and stuff. They give them data points where the competitors are offering and how good their services are, etc., etc. So in a way, what she will say will be very close to precision. That's all I want to say. Okay. All right, Jessica, for you. All right. So now, what's the reason? Hey, Jessica, what's up? And where do you think we are going and why? Yep. Now, guys, in a call center operations, there is always a CRM system, which is extremely important because that's where how you search customers. You search customers with the right profile, which will fit your bill of your products and your services. Yeah, you have to do very deep dive, okay, into the social medias, for example, to find out customers who will be closest possible of becoming your customers. So you have to find out people who are closest possible in terms of a profiling, of needing a telephony system, of needing a cellular systems, of needing a internet services systems, etc., etc. Okay, so you find them out, then you kind of make them go through certain filters. Yeah, I mean, and that's how, as I remember, I told you earlier, right? Just for example, LMS of Maticus is a CRM system. It is through LMS that they found you out. They found you out that, okay, where closest possible, there will be professionals who will be closest possible. Number one, to do some course to make some value add to their careers. Second, when they approached you, then they gave you multiple options of different course materials, right? Whether you can do analytics, you can do finance courses, you can do business analysis, and somewhere you realize that doing business analysis is a good exercise because that adds value to your existing career. So you signed up. Just like the way Jessica also has a CRM system in which she has to find, search, dig, and create customers for her company. Yeah. And in this regard, okay, so we are on CRM system, right? So maybe she may like to have a new CRM system because just like other departments, her old CRM system is also kind of outdated, right? So this means she's not able to learn much about her target audience because her current CRM system doesn't go deep enough into the world of internet to find out the right customers with the right profile for Jessica. Yeah. So this means that she would like to have a very robust kind of a reporting dashboards, which the CRM system is able to use, create right reports, and then throw it back at her and her team so that they can use that information to analyze and zero down to the prospective lead with the high probability of converting him or her into their customers. Okay, so she wants a new CRM system because that way she feels that she can enable the call center to analyze data about customers' history, improve business relationship with customers, especially focusing on retaining existing customers and gaining new customers in order to drive the sales growth. And as I said, social media, there are plenty of them, guys. There's websites, telephone, email, live chats, marketing materials, social media, blah, 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 and so on and on. So she wants a CRM system which is compatible with all these kind of social medias, etc., etc. Yeah, so she wants a variety of plug-in connectors which must exist between her product where she's sitting and the different other ways of gathering the data about the customer. Okay. Okay, so guys, I mean, Jessica is going to continue her thrust on new CRM system because for her it's her lifeline. The new CRM system is to integrate, automate multiple functions: sales, marketing, customer support. You can do everything sitting in a good CRM system. Yep. So typically, these. I mean, she expects these. The new product which you are going to bring in, should have a dashboard that should give an overall view of the three functions on a single page for each customer. Yep. So if you're going to ask her that any specific features she wants, she can say that maybe that the role of the analytical CRM system is to analyze customer data collected through multiple sources and present it so that the business managers can make informed, recognized decisions, right? So, and now you know that, right? CRM systems today, they use techniques like data mining, correlation, pattern recognition, etc. To analyze the customer data. That's why it is called voice recognition, just as an example. Nothing much. It's typically part of the artificial intelligence that the organization are now installing into the system. And I think the other day when I was talking to, one of the prestigious multinational bank with whom I bank with. So now, guys, when I call their call center, thanks to the voice recognition, their systems are able to know that it's Mukhraj. And each individual voice is obviously different. It's like a unique thing with each of humans, right? So these days when I call up their call center, no human attendant attends to me. An automated voice, recognizes my pattern and says, "Hello, Mr. Mukhraj, welcome back to, XYZ Bank. What can I do for you today?" So obviously, guys, I'm talking to a chat bot. Yeah, but the chat bot has been given enough information how it should service you as a customer of a prestigious bank. Okay, so all right, good. So what does Jessica, sorry. So she says that, okay, get in a new analytical CRM system which can analyze customer data. It can present itself in a dashboard. My business managers can see that dashboard, make decisions, right? And so she wants these analytics to help her improve the customer service. Yep, that is likely what she would like to offer you. Okay, good. So I think we are done with the stakeholders. Let me see if you guys had any query in between. Yeah, that's right. So Mangal, you have to consider every problem separately. See, because obviously by the sheer nature of the product and services that each department is offering to its customer. So yes, you have to consider it separately. That's right. But I'll tell you, it's a very intelligent question. So guys, you have to consider the problem separately, but when you will design a use case, then all the problems will, of course, they'll be shown separately, but they will converge onto a common problem area. Because if you may have realized for the last 1.5 hours of discussion, the common problem areas of the stakeholders are not very different, right? It's the same: infrastructure improvement, upgrades, and some automations, and etc., etc. So I mean, whatever that you realize. So while you converge it onto a graphical representation of a use case, which I will show you, it will be probably all different in the beginning, but they'll converge to something common. Okay. All right. So Sushant is saying how to consider short-term goal, and realization for survival from an infra point of view and sales. Infra might need capital that would hurt finances. So Sushant and all others, it's a good one, Sushant. Thanks for asking this, because I want to tell you that, guys, a total of $5 million has been envisaged as a budget for making infrastructure improvements. Okay. So you are allowed to take an assumption based on a numerical value, and please go ahead and don't worry about finances. Mumbai Communication has been in business for many years, and obviously they have made their sufficient money as well. Today, when it's a matter of survival, because they have not really kept tune with the times, trust me, the sponsor is fully adaptable, okay, to create um create a right BRD, etc., etc. So don't worry about finances. You can go ahead and take your assumptions on that. But remember, Sushant and Sumangal, yeah, that there is a lot more to do than just infrastructure improvement. Okay, so please run the horses of your brains in that direction as well, because that will be useful. Okay, so let's come down to okay, guys. I will allow you a few minutes to look at the table of content of a BRD. Yeah. So have a look. Then let's start running through a BRD for the next 40 minutes that we have. Yeah. Okay. Hey, right now I'm showing you the table of content, Hemant, and I deliberately have kept the screen there only so that you can go through, what is the TOC. No, Himangi, I'm not showing you the components yet. I'm showing you only the TOC. Yeah. For example, you should say that, okay, document purpose, overview of existing, executive summary, problem definitions. Yeah. Oh, really? You are able to still see only the stakeholders. Oh, hang on. Hey, okay, let me ask you again. Are you able to see my Word document, right? That's a table of content. No? Oh my God. Okay. Hang on. So the screen didn't refresh. Hemant was right. So what do I do here? Wait a sec. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I was not sharing my screen only because, we were discussing stakeholders, so that didn't need anything on the screen. But I think now you should be able to see, now you can see, okay, full screen mode, perfect. Okay, so yeah, now guys see this carefully and I will scroll you through. So if you see here, guys, some of the important components which you may have seen, but anyway, let's go through them in detail. Yeah, I'll show you that. I'll show you RAID log. Yeah. So it's basically RAID is risks, assumptions, issues, and I think D's for dependencies. Yeah. Okay, so RACI. Yeah, RACI guys is basically a table where you put that who will be responsible for what. So if you want to distinguish the responsibilities between you and stakeholders and IT team and etc., you do a RACI chart. I will show you that, but R stands for responsible, A is for accountable, C is for consulted, I is for informed. So let's say, honestly, most of the things in a business analysis, is the BA which does that, right? So BA is responsible, R, right? For example, requirement elicitation. Who is R? It's the BA. Who's A? A is for accountability. That typically is your stakeholders, right? Because they are accountable in a way to have the right discussion with you to give you the requirements. What is C? Consulted. Who is to be consulted while you discuss requirements? Most likely, let's say some of your IT team members, because you may like to consult a process designer, let's say a functions analyst, okay, maybe a programmer, in terms of any things which you want to discuss with them. Also, you will just consult them, so they will come in the C bracket, and the I is only informed, which is like an FYI. Yeah, so you can put them in that email CC. So RACI chart is responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. It's a table where you put different stakeholders and give them either R, C, I, or A status. So, obviously R and A are extremely important. Typically the R, because R is the doer. Okay. So that's how you make a RACI chart. All right, let's go through it. So guys, remember, today just a high level walkthrough of BRD. I can't give you a very detailed level walkthrough because otherwise, frankly, I'll be showing you all the solution right now itself. Okay, I will anyway have a discussion with you in the coming weekend, and I'll probably show you some important parts of it. But right now, I'm just showing you a brief, which is just about good enough for the next 30 minutes so that you get a good idea that writing a BRD is not a big deal, right? You can just do it provided that you're understanding about the concepts of analysis, business analysis, and your control over the current business scenario is good. Remember, if you think that you still didn't have much information on Mumbai communication, no worries, go ahead and take an assumption. Okay, so let's start the BRD run, guys. You have the document purpose, yep, which in this case is the purpose of the BRD. Typically, um, you are here, to create some solution designs. You have to develop uh, project scope. You have to assess some kind of a project's critical success factors. So, guys, what I'm showing you on the screen may not be the best BRD. I'm just giving you pointers. Okay, each individual among you can create a very good BRD. Okay, so just go by the pointers and not actually by the content. Okay, and anyways, I'm just wanting to explain you the header contents. Okay, intended audience. So who is the consumer of your BRD? Obviously, it's the stakeholders. Obviously, it is the business sponsor. Obviously, it is the IT team, because all of them are going to make use of BRD. Stakeholders are going to go through it only because they want to validate what is in it. In it is what is right also, right, from a business perspective. And IT team is going to look at it because you would have explained the requirements in greater details. So they will get that explanations, details, specifications, if any, so that they can start their work based on what you have explained about requirement. Yeah. So IT team makes good use of BRD because there's an as is and to be all definitely defined in your BRD. There's a proper gap analysis. So while going through all that, your IT teams fairly well understands that what is the business situation, what are the requirements, what is the business context to the requirements, and hence how do they now start writing the specifications which should align with the business objectives. Okay, intended audience is fine, and then you will probably give an overview of the company. Yeah, so just give a brief history. What do they do? How do they do, etc., etc. And then we will step into basically executive summary. So guys, here you have to now give actual problem definition. Okay, don't worry about the solution. You can give maybe just a brief at a very high level, but give a problem definition statement. Please give the objectives of this exercise that you're going to do. Yeah. And under objectives, you can probably now introduce, as Sumangal said, we will introduce different problems, separately. So call center has a problem, sales department has problems, but since you are listing them under objectives, please list out the basic objectives, what you have understood, what you may have understood from the stakeholders clearly. Because see guys, objectives is the crux. You need to have a clear idea on what are the objectives of the Mumbai communication, right? Because once the objectives are clear, only then you can design the way to achieve them also. Yeah. So make sure that call center, sales department, cellular department, all the objectives were clearly listed. And here individuality will come into play. For example, for call center, you are saying we need to introduce an IVR, which is an integrated voice response system, which will facilitate customer calls by channeling them to the respective departments and reducing overall wait time. So IVR is a automated system where inbound calling from the customers at the call center get automatically delegated to the callers which are free. Okay, so just like that, let's look at something else. Okay, cellular department. We need to reduce call drafts by enhancing network speed, and we need to reduce network interference. Yeah. Internet department says we need to enhance our internet speeds, blah, blah, blah. We need to have better voice quality. Okay, once the objectives are clear, then you will step into scope. And scope is going to be a bit detailed. So you will first write in scope, what you have understood and what assumptions you have taken. Never mind, take an assumption, but go into the scope and write what you think is right for, at this stage, to be covered under this project. For example, from customer relation department, they need a new CRM, right, which comprises of master data, case management, accessories, etc., etc., right? Then what are the typical issues in terms of, let's say, okay, billing, invoicing, customer feedback? All this is part of the CRM configuration. Yep. Similarly, guys, in scope, see what has this candidate done? He or she has listed out in scope everything what is probably making some sense in here, because he or she will use the same details that she created today, to eventually evolve the other sections of BRD and go forward, right? So let's say product catalog is in scope, package configuration, credit control. See, why is that? Because you wanted to give your customers a very easy kind of a menu plan. Okay, you wanted to give your customers a menu plan for choosing cellular services or other services that Mumbai Communication offers. So you wanted to make it easy for customer in order to take a decision and judge and take not judge, sorry, choose, right? So whatever you can think of, you must put into the in scope part. For example, business intelligence reports. Why? Because advanced analytics are needed to provide departments wise dashboards, right? Similarly, billing and invoicing, yes, that's a detailed one. Customer feedback, all that is very, very important from being what you are today, a Mumbai Communication Cellular Company. Okay, so don't forget to obviously introduce, the data migration, because some data from legacies will definitely get migrated, to SAP systems. Another one is integrating interface, sorry. So interfaces, whatever interfaces you may be able to think of. If you're not able to think of at this point of time, no worries. At least mention a point that there is bound to be interfaces in this solution context, and which will need a new build up. So that's like a technical build up that we may have to do. That's what you are thinking could be in scope. All right, now guys starts the as is, which is from the existing systems. So while we start rolling the ball of as is, we will probably talk about what is there in the existing part. Yep. And now again, guys, you will take a ready reference of each department. Yep. So what is today in call center? So currently the customer calls up the call center, requests for new services or modifies an existing service. He inquires about new products. He registers for new connections. Since there is no IVR, automated voice record, systems at the call center today, hence customer wait time is very long. I think you can safely deduce this, right? So if you see, guys, it's a very slow step-by-step download approach. First, the stakeholder explained his or her problem to the candidate. Now, the candidate is trying to simplify it, because now in this case, the candidate is trying to actually visualize that just like any other call center, existing customers will be calling up call center for complaints, etc. New customers will be called out by the call center so that they can enlist in to become customers. Either way, since you know that the current call center system is manual, hence wait time is large. What is this? It's a categorical existing system issue. Since you're documenting as is, please keep this flavor afresh for all, other areas also. Okay, so we are going down, 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 right? We covered cellular, internet. Okay. So just brief, high level. Okay. Now, guys, we can come down to the proposed system. So this is, remember, a high level proposal. You are just in the beginning of the BRD. So proposed system doesn't mean that you have finalized to be. Okay. So what you think, like, okay, many things. For example, this candidate is saying one of the proposals she's giving is that the proposed system will also introduce new schemes like pay per use service model. Now, Tata Sky, right? It's a pay per use. How many channels you want to watch? They simply charge you 30-40 bucks per channel per month. So here the candidate is trying to suggest, why don't we move into flexible pricing? Why doesn't Mumbai Communication move into flexible pricing for its customer? I think it's a great idea, because obviously, not that you're also giving the flexibility to the customer to pick and choose what they want from the menu catalog. So let's say if Mumbai Communication offers 30 channels, it can simply put it there in a catalog kind of thing, like a menu card. You see a menu card in a restaurant, right? You go into the restaurant and you pick up the menu card and you choose what you want to eat today. Just like that, Mumbai Communication wants to give a product catalog to its customers so that they can pick and choose what they need to configure from a backend perspective, so that they definitely get access to all those channels what they're choosing now. Okay, so this is what I want to know from you. What are the high level thoughts in with respect to proposed system that you want to bring in? Of course, now, for example, this candidate has given ideas about different modules like customer service, customer billing systems, asset management, resource scheduling, fulfillment, customer management program, billing, revenue, sales, distribution model. So she wants to make use of all such modules in the proposed model. So she wants to make sure that from an ERP perspective, all these different modules are acted upon, and hence they are activated in the client system. Okay, why don't you take a small reading in the RAID log, yeah? So guys, RAID log is, as I said, R is for risks. Okay, so you need to tabulate all that. Your perceived risks have to come into this table. Okay, R is for risks, A is for assumptions, all the assumptions that you have taken for this project for various departments. I is for issue, what the issues do you think you may face, okay, in the implementation of this project. And D is for dependency. Yeah, let's go back to risks to some time. So this candidate, guys, is thinking about risks about which is lack of information, lack of regulatory certainty, lack of data integrity, all such things she or he perceives as a risk. Yeah, cost and schedule overrun of the project, right? So since it is a risk, so obviously which is a combination of probability and impact, so she has combined these two parameters, yeah, to describe that which of the risks are, on a higher note. For example, lack of information of new gen services which will not meet competitive market demand. It has high probability and a high impact. And also, this candidate is suggesting what are the possible remediation or mitigation measures of these risks. So identifying an industry expert for thorough knowledge of technology advancements, etc., so that that kind of a industry expert can help the BA and the stakeholders in terms of point of arrival of what are the new gen situations that we want to now incorporate at this point of time in the project. Yep. Okay. So that's the thing. All right. What else? Lack of data integrity. Okay. Cost and schedule overrun. Scope creep. Scope creep is a big risk. Obviously, I'm sure all of you will agree with it, right? So okay. So with a medium probability but a high impact, yes. So this is about your risk phenomena, guys. Risk profile, I should say. Then comes your assumption. Now here, the assumptions are all network elements should be functional. System will run on existing networking and computer resources. All external data from all sources should be made available as per a predefined schedule. I think these are very, very intelligent assumptions, right, which the candidate has taken in order to be sure that I will get all this thanks to Mumbai Communication, and hence the project will not face any bottleneck at any point of time. Yeah. Okay, so response time of network element should be mutually agreed because it has a major impact on provisioning activities. I'm sure this candidate was typically from a telecommunication domain. Otherwise, I really think that these are very good assumptions that she has taken. Okay, then comes issues, then comes dependencies. The customer will need internet connection for digital KYC registration. Availability of hardwares to support new CRM ERP system. Okay, so she has already kind of made a high level proposal, and now she is using those terms, into the project table here. Yeah, okay. All right, guys, let me check if there's a query till now. Okay, so one query which has come from Sumangal is the proposed system completely based on our assumptions? So Sumangal, obviously, you'll have to take definitely some major assumptions. Yeah, but they are assumptions only. Your to-be system recommendations, which you want to give for each department, eventually converging onto a good solution for the overall enterprise-wide organization, so that will not obviously be completely assumption driven, because you will have some real content from business analysis, right? So what we will probably do in the next Saturday or Sundays, guys, that we will actually walk through that what is the step-by-step approach which I as a BA would have taken. Yeah, so which way I would have approached this project, which way I would have called it probably a plan driven or a change driven. After categorizing the same, I would have gone into business analysis planning, how I would have done planning, what inputs I would have used, what processing mediums I would have used, what would be my output, which is going to be serve as an input for the next process, right? So next Saturday, Sunday, we're going to discuss that. And I think that is how I would expose you to a totally kind of a thoroughly way to approach this project and then to think accordingly. Okay, but yes, wherever you have to take assumptions, just be don't take like very funny assumptions. But I think otherwise, whatever you take as an assumption, I think it'll be fine for me. Okay, guys. So welcome to the world of use cases. Okay, so here now I think I'll come back to Sumangal's point. That when you are doing a use case workflows, guys, then all your commonality of problem must has to emerge. For example, in here, there are various players which are right now active in the system. There's a customer, there's a call center, there are salespeople, there's telephony, internet, and all that, whatever departments on the right hand side. So all departments are on the right hand side and they are being interacted upon by who? Customer? Yes. Call center? Yes, there's a large interaction which keeps going between call center and the various departments of the company. So various departments are like cellular, telephony, internet, etc., etc. And obviously sales is also on the left hand side. So sales, call center, and customer on the left, right? And they are bound together with each other in form of these processes. So if you would like to see the rich interaction which is happening between, for example, look at this, the customer, right? What is going in this pointed arrow direction, right? Requests and receives the internet services, right? And here it responds to provide the same back to the customer. So telephony, internet, and all that are providers. And here on the left is more of receivers. But if you see in between is the real game plan. Yeah. So even though I have kept in the use case, this is typically, so Sumangal and others, call centers is basically the common platform between the customer and all the other departments. Because remember, on the extreme left is the customer who approaches the call center, right? And then call center, scatters the customers across multiple departments. So frankly, which side is on is not very important. Till the time you are able to connect the right arrows to showcase that, okay, in terms of queries, complaints, new customer, bill payments, etc., who is connected to each other via what? I think you have served the purpose of a use case. So call center, frankly, being on left and right doesn't really matter, but typically why it has been kept on the other side of other all departments is because it has to interact with other departments via multiple areas. For example, subscription. For example, queries, complaints, reports, and etc. Yeah. So that is how this is. So essentially, guys, use case is an interactive play between these are called actors, customers, call center, sales guys, telephony guys, etc. These are called actors. So it's a close interplay between the actors and the facilitating medium, which in this case, is how they interact with each other. So that kind of a common middleware. Okay. So use case is all about that. Okay, now under the use case, guys, you will have use case description. Yeah. So UC stands for use case. So use case 1, use case 2, use case 3, as many as you want. So in the as is model, right, you have actors, which are customers, call center, sales, etc. Now you have to describe what you meant by the diagram above. So you saw the diagram above, right? Now you have to describe it. So let's see, that's what comes into the description. For example, customer. What is customer doing? Subscribing to different services like etc, etc, etc. Paying the bills for the service subscribed to in a prepaid or postpaid mode. Raising queries regarding new offers and existing subscriptions by calling up the call center. Logging complaint for any issues. Yeah, so like call center. Signs up new customer for service requests. Attend customer queries. Logs and routes the complaints to respective departments. Yeah, views the reports generated by the ERP system. That is typically what call center does as of today. Hence, this is exactly how it is reflecting an as is. Sales, okay, what does sales do? Takes up the leads generated by call center, performs market research, attends to customer query, handles revenue management, tracks market share and sales distribution. So all this is displayed in the above diagram in form of pointers, arrows, etc. And that is how sales is interrelated to multiple departments in different ways. Yep. Similarly, let's read internet, right? Provides internet services, etc. Responds to customer queries and complaints received from call center within 48 hours. So guys, use case description is to capture the dynamism, dynamism. Yeah, dynamism. The dynamism which exists between your actors, your departments, and your process areas, right? Once you're able to make a use case like this and describe it up, right, then you will realize that the interrelationship between different departments is actually more than what you can think of from a face value. That will help because at least you'll be clear with how the departments and actors interrelate with each other. Now, looking at that, you will know, looking at the use case of as is, you will know whether there are some areas which are just getting replicated, which are duplicated, which we don't need to do. Is there some areas which are generating inputs and outputs which are actually a hindrance in terms of doing a good customer service? Okay, so that is the beauty of using use cases and the use case descriptions. Very similarly, the way these use cases are for as is, similarly we will design the use cases for to be, because in that you will remove duplicacy, redundancy, extra kind of processes which are not required and which are not productive, because henceforth during post implementation only those processes will be followed by Mumbai communication. So that is how we proceed ahead in terms of use case descriptions, etc. Yep. Okay, let's see if any queries till now. Okay. So here guys, remember, yeah, anything can come into use case. So you have your customer, call center, sales, telephony, internet department, cellular department. But remember, this smart cookie has also brought in accounting department. I think Jayashree has asked a valid question, right? Where does finance kick in? You can make a finance kick in here. It's BRD is also generated by one such student, right? So accordingly, you can all think of different areas. Legacy ERP system. So there's a legacy system which they are operating till now. It's a mainline ERP system responsible for all accounting transactions, all process areas, etc. What it does today, is it satisfactory? Is it what goes with the to be vision or ambition of the company? You will be able to, so first you will be able to write this, only then you will be able to describe it from a approach you want to take in the to be side. Yeah, and let me show you something really nice, even though it is done on a piece of paper. Yeah, so guys, for example, this is the as is process flow. So your BRD should have as is which is their use case. Then it should have use case descriptions, again in as is. Then it should have process flow, again in as is. So these are some three main components which you have for all the as is and to be's that you will create. And again, guys, remember, even though the problems of departments are separate, but in the use case you kept them together. In the use case descriptions, you mentioned all of them, and typically in a process flow you have to mix them up, for the simple reason that typically a process flow will be like that. It will flow from one department to another department, because for the customer who's having multiple services from Mumbai Communication, you can generally give me a process flow only for that. So assume that the customers of Mumbai Communications enjoy multiple services from Mumbai Communication, and hence keeping them together, the various departments in process flows, is a great idea. So it's okay, because see guys, I want to save you the trouble of creating a as and to be and all that stuff for each department separately, and that's not my idea also, because I want to treat Mumbai Communication as a singular enterprise management system, right? So within that one single organization, I don't want you to compartmentalize them, right? This is how we go. Okay, good. So okay guys, so what we'll do is maybe we can take 2-3 minutes to answer some few queries. But just to, because I need 2-3 minutes to again validate with you that today you are at least have a clear idea about business scenario and stakeholders, etc. Okay, we will continue the BRD run next time, again, not a worry, but please go through your stakeholders call, be inquisitive and curious enough, just capture all the data points what you can hear, listen from their responses. The responses will be either good, bad or ugly. I don't want to categorize them. All the stakeholders will definitely not be good or cool with you, right? But that is again to give you a real feel of stakeholders. Anyway, so enjoy that in the coming week, and the next week we'll continue the BRD run. So when I'm explaining BRD, guys, you must ask me all your queries so that I can answer that and you are clear that, okay, at least your conceptual framework of BRD creation is clear. Because once that is clear, only then you'll be able to actually create a long BRD on your own. This BRD is, for example, 15 or 18, 20 pages. So you have to write meaningful 20 pages. Then you have to be clear with what you are writing, right? So that's why we will take a BRD's walkthrough session next week, Saturday also. And, and then by the time you will give me your feedbacks about your stakeholders, etc. calls. And then I will take you through a detailed solutioning approach via our PPTs. Yeah. Okay, that's an idea for the coming week. All right, guys. So are you comfortable with what we are doing in the case study, guys? I know there's a lot of work to do, but I think that should be the last of your concern, because I'm there to help you out. Okay. But eventually, I mean, I will really look forward to the fact that you're able to create your own BRD. I know there is some thinking cap which you have to put on, because for example, if you have to describe this as is process flow, then you need to describe, which way databases are interacting with different departments and etc. etc. I know there is a little bit of hard work here, but that's exactly what will clarify your concepts, right? So this is something which I would like you to do. Okay, great. Okay, guys, fantastic. I think we had a good session. So I'll be traveling tonight, and I'll be back on next Friday late night, and then on Saturday afternoon, 4 p.m. we will log on to the session again. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your attentions, queries, questions, etc. Great being with you, and look forward to talk to you soon. Yep. Bye for now.